The constant hum of machinery filled the International Space Station as Commander James Miller performed his daily system checks. Through the observation window, Earth hung like a blue marble against the vast darkness of space. It was just another Tuesday in orbit, or so he thought. The first sign that something was different came when the sensors started acting strangely. At first, Miller assumed it was a routine glitch. Space equipment often needed recalibration. But then the entire station trembled slightly, and the stars outside began to disappear, section by section, as if something massive was moving in front of them. "Control, are you seeing this?" Miller called down to Earth, his eyes fixed on the growing darkness outside. The response from Houston came through with unusual static. "We're getting some unusual readings, Commander. Stand by." That's when they all saw it. A ship, if you could call something so massive a ship, materialized less than a kilometer from the station. It seemed to shimmer into existence as some kind of cloaking technology deactivated. The vessel was easily 50 times the size of the ISS, with a sleek design that made it look like a giant silver arrow pointed at the heart of space. "All personnel, report to emergency stations," Miller ordered, trying to keep his voice steady. The 5 other crew members quickly secured their stations and gathered in the main module. They had trained for first contact scenarios, but nobody really expected to use that training. The communication system crackled to life without warning. A voice came through, speaking in perfect English with an odd musical quality to it. "Greetings, International Space Station. This is Commander Blue of the Galactic Survey Vessel Precision. We come with peaceful intent and a rather unusual request." Miller exchanged looks with his crew before responding. "This is Commander James Miller. We're listening." "Excellent." The alien commander's voice carried what sounded almost like relief. "Human, I require your inspection." The statement was so unexpected that Miller had to ask for clarification. "I'm sorry, you require our what?" "Your inspection. We have been studying your species for some time, and we find your inspection protocols and safety standards fascinating. We wish to have one of your spacecraft systems inspectors examine our vessel." The next few hours were a blur of communication between the station, Earth's various space agencies, military commands, and diplomatic channels. The alien vessel maintained its position, occasionally shifting slightly to avoid debris, demonstrating incredible precision in its movements. What puzzled everyone was the aliens' insistence that they specifically wanted a civilian inspector, not a military officer or a diplomat. They were also surprisingly open about allowing Earth to scan their ship, freely sharing basic technical specifications that confirmed they were indeed far more advanced than humanity. "We understand this request may seem strange," Commander Blue continued during one of their exchanges, "but we have our reasons, which we will explain to your chosen inspector. We only ask that you send someone with extensive experience in identifying potential system failures." As day turned to night in the space station's artificial cycle, Miller found himself staring at the alien ship through the cupola window. Its surface gleamed with a subtle pattern that seemed to shift like oil on water. Occasionally, small maintenance craft would emerge from its bays, their movements precise and purposeful. "Control has made a decision," his communication officer reported. "They're sending up Tom Reed on the next available launch. He's been inspecting spacecraft systems for 20 years. Miller nodded. He knew Reed by reputation, a methodical man with an almost supernatural ability to spot problems before they happened. If anyone could handle whatever the aliens were planning, it would be him. As he watched another maintenance craft emerge from the alien vessel, Miller couldn't shake the feeling that this was the beginning of something much bigger than a simple inspection request. Humanity's first official contact with an alien civilization wasn't coming with a bang or a threat, but with a polite request for help. And somehow, that seemed even more unsettling. Tom Reed stood in front of his bathroom mirror, adjusting his collar for the 5th time. At 53 years old, with graying hair and wrinkles around his eyes that deepened when he smiled, he looked exactly like what he was, a man who had spent his life checking things that could go wrong. The NASA patch on his jacket seemed to mock him with its newness. They'd rushed it to him just yesterday, along with a mountain of paperwork. Going up to check an alien spaceship, he muttered to himself, shaking his head. Never thought I'd add that to my resume. The past week had been a whirlwind. One moment he'd been preparing for a routine inspection of a commercial space facility in Texas. The next he was being whisked away to Kennedy Space Center. The briefing sessions had been intense. Diplomats, military officers, and scientists all trying to prepare him for every possible scenario. Remember, they'd told him repeatedly, you're not just an inspector anymore. You're humanity's representative. But Tom wasn't convinced. 20 years of crawling through spacecraft systems had taught him that titles meant nothing when something went wrong. A faulty valve didn't care if you were a representative of humanity or a junior technician. It would blow all the same. The drive to the launch pad was surreal. Security vehicles surrounded his transport, and the normally busy space center was eerily empty. As they approached the rocket that would take him to the ISS, Tom did what he always did. He started his mental checklist. The launch prep team worked with practiced efficiency, helping him into his suit. Each seal, each connection, each system. Tom checked them all, much to the amusement of the technicians who had already done the same. Can't help yourself, can you, Reed? One of them joked. Force of habit, Tom replied with a small smile. 20 years of looking for things that could kill you tends to stick. The launch itself was textbook perfect, which only made Tom more nervous. In his experience, when the obvious things went right, it was usually the unexpected that got you. The journey to the ISS took several hours, during which Tom reviewed the limited data they had on the alien vessel. When he finally saw it through the station's windows, his inspector's mind immediately began cataloging details. The ship's hull showed signs of micrometeor impacts, expertly repaired but visible to his trained eye. The maintenance patterns around its access ports suggested regular use. These aliens, whatever else they might be, clearly believed in routine upkeep. Commander Miller met him at the station's docking port. They've been asking about you every hour, he said, leading Tom to the communication center. Whatever they want, they're eager to get started. The alien commander's voice came through clear and precise. Inspector Reed, welcome. We have prepared a docking port for your shuttle. Our atmosphere has been adjusted to Earth standard, and we have configured our artificial gravity to match your preferences. Tom leaned toward the microphone. Before I agree to board, I need to know what exactly you want me to inspect. There was a pause before the alien responded. Everything, Inspector Reed. We require a complete system evaluation from a human perspective. Your species has a unique way of anticipating problems. We find it most valuable. Tom frowned. In 2 decades of inspections, he'd never heard a client actually ask for problems to be found. Usually, they try to hide them. I should warn you, Tom said, I'm very thorough, and when I find problems, I insist they be fixed. The alien's response contained what sounded like satisfaction. That, Inspector Reed, is precisely why we requested a human. As the shuttle prepared to ferry him across to the alien vessel, Tom did one final check of his toolkit. Whatever he was about to find aboard that ship, he was determined to treat it like any other inspection. After all, that's what they'd asked for. He just hoped they really knew what they were getting into. The first thing Tom noticed when he stepped aboard the alien ship was the perfect temperature. Not too hot, not too cold, exactly 72 degrees Fahrenheit. The second thing he noticed was how the alien crew members kept their distance, watching him with what looked like a mixture of fear and respect in their large, silvery eyes. Commander Blue met him at the airlock. The alien stood about 7 feet tall, with smooth blue-tinted skin and 4 arms that moved with careful precision. What struck Tom most was the commander's posture. It reminded him of nervous facility managers just before a crucial inspection. Inspector Reed, Blue said, bowing slightly, We have prepared a complete access route through all critical systems. Our engineering staff is at your disposal." Tom pulled out his tablet and stylus, old-school tools he preferred over fancy gadgets. "Let's start with your main power systems," he said. "That's usually where the biggest problems hide." As they walked through the gleaming corridors, Tom's trained eye caught details that seemed odd. The ship was immaculately maintained, yet he noticed redundancies in systems that made little sense. Backup systems had backup systems, which themselves had backups. It was as if they were terrified of anything going wrong. "Your safety protocols seem extensive," Tom commented as they passed yet another emergency containment system. Blue's skin rippled in what might have been embarrassment. "We believe in being thorough." The engine room was a marvel of engineering. Towers of crystalline structures pulsed with energy, connected by streams of what looked like liquid light. Tom started his inspection, moving methodically through each system. He noticed something strange about the alien engineers watching him. Every time he paused to examine something more closely, they would huddle together, taking rapid notes and whispering among themselves. When he pulled out his ultraviolet light to check for stress fractures, several of them actually gasped. "Is there a problem?" Tom asked, turning to Blue. "Not at all," the commander replied quickly. "We are simply fascinated by your inspection methods. Please continue." As Tom worked his way through the power core systems, he began to see patterns that didn't add up. The technology was incredibly advanced, yet there were basic design flaws that anyone with practical experience should have spotted. It was as if the ship had been built by brilliant theorists who had never actually had to fix anything. "These power conduits," Tom said, pointing to a complex junction. "They're routed too close together. If one fails, the heat would cascade through the others." The alien engineers frantically recorded his observation, their movements almost frenzied. Blue stepped closer, all four hands clasped together. How did you know to check that specific configuration?" Tom shrugged. "Experience. I've seen similar setups fail before. Different technology, same basic principles." He continued his inspection, growing increasingly puzzled by the aliens' reactions to his most basic observations. When he pointed out a simple wear pattern that could lead to future problems, one of the engineers actually dropped their tablet. The more he saw, the more questions he had. This was supposedly an advanced alien civilization, yet they seemed amazed by fundamental inspection techniques. Their technology was incredibly sophisticated, but their approach to maintenance and safety seemed almost naive. After several hours, Tom stopped at a particular junction that had been bothering him since he first saw it. He ran his hand along a seemingly perfect seam in the wall. "This needs to be completely redesigned," he said firmly. Blue moved closer, anxiety clear in their movements. "But our simulations show it is perfect." Tom shook his head. "Simulations are great, but they don't account for real-world wear and tear. This junction is a disaster waiting to happen." The aliens' reaction to this statement was strange enough to make Tom pause his inspection. They looked at each other with what could only be described as relief, as if he had just confirmed something they had long suspected. "Commander Blue," Tom said, closing his tablet, "I think it's time you told me what's really going on here." Commander Blue led Tom to what appeared to be a conference room, though the seats seemed designed for beings with very different body structures. The walls displayed holographic images of various alien structures and ships, and Tom noticed something troubling about each one. "You see it, don't you?" Blue asked, watching Tom's expression carefully. "Even in these images, your eyes go straight to the potential problems." Tom nodded slowly. "Every one of these structures has serious design flaws. Some of them look like they've already failed." He pointed to one image. "That station's support structure is completely inadequate for its mass. That station collapsed 6 cycles ago," Blue said quietly. "We lost 4,000 crew members." The room fell silent. Tom felt the weight of those deaths, even though they were aliens he'd never met. Safety failures always hit him hard. Each one represented lives needlessly lost. We have been studying humans for longer than you might imagine. Blue continued, gesturing with their upper arms while the lower ones remained clasped together. At first, we were puzzled by your species' obsession with safety protocols, emergency procedures, and constant inspections. It seemed primitive. Tom watched as Blue brought up more images, this time of Earth. They showed everything from construction sites to aircraft maintenance facilities. Your species spends an extraordinary amount of time thinking about what could go wrong, Blue said. You imagine failures that haven't happened yet. You see problems in perfect systems. At first, we thought it was a sign of evolutionary fear response, a remnant of your survival past. It's called experience, Tom corrected. We learn from our mistakes. No, Blue said firmly. It's more than that. Our species has experience too. We have advanced technology, vast knowledge, and thousands of years of space travel behind us. But we lack something that seems uniquely human: the ability to intuitively spot potential disasters before they happen. The holographic display shifted to show complex mathematical formulae. Our engineers can calculate every variable, plan for every known scenario, but we consistently miss what you call obvious problems. It's as if humans have an extra sense for danger that we lack. Tom walked around the room, examining each image carefully. These aren't just random examples, are they? These are all failures your civilization has experienced. Blue's skin darkened slightly, what Tom was beginning to recognize as their version of embarrassment. Yes, despite our technological advancement, we have suffered numerous catastrophic failures. Systems that were theoretically perfect simply broke. And every time we investigated, we found that the problem should have been obvious. But it wasn't obvious to you, Tom said, understanding beginning to dawn. No, we can build incredible technology, but we cannot. What is your phrase? We cannot think outside the box. We cannot imagine what might go wrong unless we have seen it go wrong before. Tom sat down, his mind racing. That's why you wanted a human inspector. You're not just looking for someone to check your ship. You're trying to understand how we think. Blue moved closer, their movements urgent. You've been aboard our ship for less than 1 day, and you've already identified 17 critical issues that our engineers missed. Issues that our most advanced diagnostic systems didn't flag. Because your systems only look for known problems, Tom said. They can't imagine new ones. Exactly. Blue's excitement was almost palpable. Your human ability to imagine potential failures, to see problems before they occur, it's something our entire civilization lacks, and we need it desperately. Tom leaned back, taking in the magnitude of what he was hearing. These advanced aliens weren't just asking for an inspection. They were admitting a fundamental weakness in their entire civilization, one that only humans seemed able to fill. Commander Blue, Tom said carefully, I get the feeling there's something bigger going on here than just inspecting your ship. The alien commander's next words confirmed his suspicions. Yes, Inspector Reed. Much bigger. We need your help to prevent a catastrophe that could affect our entire civilization. A catastrophe that we can sense is coming, but cannot identify. Commander Blue activated a holographic display that filled the entire room. What Tom saw made his blood run cold. A vast network of interconnected power cores, spanning what appeared to be multiple star systems. This is our civilization's primary power distribution network, Blue explained. Thousands of cores, all linked together, providing energy to billions of our people across 12 star systems. Tom stood up, walking through the hologram. His experienced eye immediately caught dozens of potential failure points. These power cores, they're all connected in series, aren't they? Yes, it is our most efficient design. Blue's voice carried a note of pride that quickly faded. But something is wrong. Our sensors detect irregularities, small fluctuations that shouldn't exist. Tom moved closer to one section of the display. Show me the power flow readings for the past year. The hologram shifted, displaying complex graphs and data streams. Tom studied them intently, his decades of experience allowing him to see patterns where others might see only numbers. There, he pointed to a seemingly random spike in the data. When did these fluctuations start? Approximately 3 cycles ago, Blue answered. Our engineers say they are within acceptable parameters. Tom shook his head. Your engineers are wrong. These aren't random fluctuations. They're warning signs. The whole network is becoming unstable. The alien crew members in the room began moving nervously. Blue's skin color shifted to a deeper shade of blue. How can you be certain? Blue asked. Our most advanced diagnostic systems. Your diagnostic systems are looking for problems you've seen before, Tom interrupted. This is something new. Look here. He pointed to several points in the network. These power surges are getting stronger and more frequent. They're following a pattern that reminds me of what happens just before a cascade failure in nuclear reactors back on Earth. The room fell silent. Blue moved closer to the hologram, all 4 hands moving in agitation. If such a cascade failure were to occur in our network, Blue's voice trailed off. The entire system would collapse, Tom finished grimly. And given how your worlds are connected, the failure would spread from one core to the next, like dominoes falling. The implications were staggering. Billions of aliens, spread across 12 star systems, all dependent on a power network that was showing signs of imminent failure. Tom felt the weight of the situation pressing down on him. How long? Blue asked quietly. Tom studied the data again. Based on the acceleration of these fluctuations, maybe 3 months. 4 at most. Can it be prevented? Tom walked through the hologram again, his mind already working on solutions. Maybe, but it would require completely reworking how your cores are connected. You'd need to install emergency shutoffs, isolation systems. The basic design needs to change. The time required to implement such changes across all our systems would be massive, Tom agreed. But you don't have a choice. Either you change the system, or you lose it entirely. Blue turned to face him fully. This is why we sought human help. Our engineers created this network. It is theoretically perfect. Yet you, a human inspector, can see its flaws within minutes of examining it. Tom shook his head. It's not about being smarter or more advanced. Sometimes you need fresh eyes, someone who thinks about what could go wrong rather than what should go right. The alien commander moved to a communication panel. I must inform our High Council immediately. Inspector Reed, we will need your help to design these changes. Will you assist us? Tom looked at the hologram again, at the billions of lives that hung in the balance. He thought about all the times on Earth when a simple inspection had prevented disaster, all the lives saved because someone took the time to look for problems before they happened. Yes, he said firmly. I'll help, but we need to start immediately. And you need to be prepared. Fixing this won't be easy. We understand, Blue replied. That is why we came to humans. You see the problems we cannot. Now, we must learn to fix them. Over the next few weeks, Tom found himself leading the strangest engineering team he'd ever worked with. The alien engineers were brilliant, capable of complex calculations in their heads that would take Earth's supercomputers hours to process. Yet they consistently struggled with what Tom considered basic safety concepts. No, Tom said, pointing to a holographic simulation of a power core redesign. You can't route the emergency shutdown system through the same channel as the main power feed. If the main line fails, you'll lose the ability to shut it down. The alien engineers stared at him in what he'd learned to recognize as their version of amazement. But the efficiency calculations, one began. Forget efficiency, Tom interrupted. Think survival. What happens when things go wrong? Because they will go wrong. He pulled up a basic diagram he created, using simple Earth engineering principles. Look, separate the emergency systems completely. Yes, it uses more resources. Yes, it's less efficient. But when everything goes wrong, these separate systems will save lives. The aliens crowded around his diagram, their multiple eyes widening as they studied it. Tom had learned that their species had evolved in an environment with very few natural disasters or predators. They'd never developed the constant vigilance that humans had inherited from their more dangerous past. "Show us more," Blue requested. "Show us how humans design safety systems." Tom spent hours explaining the basics of redundancy, fail-safes, and emergency protocols. He used examples from Earth's history: nuclear power plants, aircraft systems, space stations. With each example, the aliens' understanding grew. "It's like teaching them to see in a new color," Tom commented during a break, speaking to Earth via subspace communication. They'd never had to think this way before. The work was intense. Tom insisted on personally inspecting each core modification before it was implemented. The aliens created a special transport system that could move him quickly between systems, allowing him to check multiple sites each day. At each location, he found the same problems: brilliant engineering crippled by a fundamental inability to imagine failure. But as the weeks passed, he began to see changes. The alien engineers started anticipating problems, thinking about what could go wrong before he pointed it out. "Look at this," Inspector Reed, one of the younger engineers, called out during a core inspection. "I think I found a potential failure point we missed." Tom examined the section they indicated and smiled. They were right, and more importantly, they'd found it on their own. The work was proceeding faster than expected. The aliens' advanced technology, once properly directed, allowed for rapid implementation of safety measures. But it wasn't just about the technology. It was about changing how they thought. "Your species has given us more than just technical solutions," Blue told him one day as they watched a power core being modified. "You've taught us to think differently, to see danger as something to prepare for, not just react to." Tom watched as the alien work crews installed another emergency shutdown system. That's the real challenge, isn't it? Not just fixing the current problem, but making sure you can prevent future ones. "Yes," Blue agreed. "We are learning to see through human eyes, to imagine failure so we can prevent it." As the last major modifications were being completed, Tom stood in the control center, watching the power readings from across the network. The dangerous fluctuations were stabilizing. The cascade failure they'd feared was no longer imminent. "The network is stabilizing," one of the alien technicians reported. "All safety systems are functioning as designed." Tom nodded, feeling the satisfaction he always felt after a successful inspection and repair. But this was different. He hadn't just prevented a disaster. He'd helped an advanced civilization learn something fundamental about survival. "You've done more than save our power network," Blue said quietly. "You've shown us a new way to think about technology, about safety, about survival itself." Looking at the now stable readings, Tom realized this was just the beginning. The aliens had learned to see problems as humans did, and that would change their civilization forever. 3 months after Tom's initial inspection, the Great Hall of the Alien High Council buzzed with activity. Representatives from all 12 star systems had gathered to witness something unprecedented: the signing of what would become known as the Human-Alien Safety Accord. Tom stood at the center of the vast chamber, feeling somewhat out of place in his simple inspector's uniform among the ornately dressed alien dignitaries. Commander Blue stood beside him, their skin glowing with a proud blue hue. "Today marks a turning point in our civilization," the head counselor announced, their voice resonating through the chamber. "The human inspection protocols have not only saved our power network, but have revealed a path to preventing future catastrophes." Tom looked up at the massive display showing the power network's status. Every core now operated with multiple safety systems, redundancies, and emergency protocols. More importantly, the alien engineers had begun implementing similar safety measures in other systems across their civilization. Inspector Reed, the head counselor, turned to him. "Your species has shown us something we never knew we lacked. We would like to propose a formal exchange program." The terms of the agreement were straightforward but revolutionary. Earth would provide experienced inspectors and safety engineers to work with alien facilities across their territory. In exchange, humanity would receive access to advanced alien technology, but with a unique twist. "We will share our technology," Blue explained to the assembly, "but only after human inspectors have evaluated and improved its safety systems. We recognize now that advancement without proper safety protocols is a path to disaster." The agreement went further. The aliens would establish a joint training academy where humans would teach their inspection methods while aliens would share their technical knowledge. It was a partnership based on the strengths of both species. "This is more than just a technical exchange," Tom addressed the council. "It's about combining our different ways of thinking. Humans imagine problems because our history taught us to survive by anticipating danger. Your species creates amazing technology because you can see possibilities we can't imagine. Together, we can build something better than either of us could alone." The first group of human inspectors was already on their way, selected from the best safety engineers Earth had to offer. They would be assigned to various alien facilities, bringing their unique human perspective to alien technology. "But remember," Tom cautioned during the final briefing, "our job isn't just to find problems. It's to teach them how to find problems themselves. We're not just inspectors anymore. We're teachers." As he prepared to return to Earth, Tom took one last look at the alien ship where it all began. The vessel had been completely retrofitted with new safety systems, becoming a model for the changes spreading throughout alien space. "Will you return to us?" Blue asked as they stood at the airlock. Tom smiled. "Of course. Someone has to do the annual inspection, after all." The alien commander's skin rippled with what Tom now recognized as laughter. "You humans never stop inspecting, do you?" "Nope. That's why you needed us." As his transport began its journey back to Earth, Tom reflected on how strange it all was. Humanity had dreamed of first contact bringing amazing technology or profound cosmic wisdom. Instead, it had brought a request for a safety inspection. And somehow, that had led to something even more valuable, a partnership that made both species stronger. The stars streaked past his window as the ship entered faster than light travel. Somewhere out there, human inspectors were already at work, teaching alien engineers to see problems before they happened, while learning about technologies beyond human imagination. Tom pulled out his tablet and began writing his final report. "In conclusion," he typed, "the most valuable thing we can offer to an advanced alien civilization isn't our technology or our resources. It's our hard-earned wisdom about what can go wrong and how to prevent it. Sometimes, the most important thing you can bring to an inspection isn't your tools, it's your human perspective." Behind him, Earth waited, forever changed by the aliens who came asking for an inspector and found something much more valuable: a new way of thinking about the universe and its dangers.